Pop Turner speak to on a Lambe, True Detective Night Country, which is on HBO week after week. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you. I mean, it's interesting because True Detective, it's technically the fourth season. This one just throws so many elements at you early on. And I'm just wondering if, like, when you read the script, are you prepared for this early on? Like, all these elements being thrown?
Well, I mean, I don't think some of them really landed with me until I saw the episodes and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, okay. And you can kind of, as you're reading the scripts, you imagine what's going to happen. But huge props and huge love to the special effects team and post-production that, of course, the story that we shot last year was incredible, but what they were able to elevate and turn it into is so shocking to see. And I loved when episode 2 released and everybody was like freaking out and live tweeting, and I was just kind of following along, giggling on my bed like, oh.
Yeah, the first kind of scene of like episode 2, you're just like, what? And then it goes to the title sequence, and we're just on episode 2. But it's interesting you mentioned that about going and filming and then kind of seeing the episodes and then reading the script, because in a lot of ways, Anna, it's like separate journeys, kind of reading script, preparing, and then going and filming. But does it feel for this one like one big journey with multiple steps working on True Detective Night Country?
Well, I mean, they always say that what you write and then what you film and then what you create are all really different things. And the vision and stuff, it changes over time. But I think Issa had such an incredible vision from the start. And she did work with Inupiaq producers to bring the authenticity to the story and to make it come alive and to make it, actually representative of a life that is very real and that exists in Alaska and across many northern communities like my own. So I mean, it
Yes.
absolutely, I feel so lucky to have joined the journey during production and during filming. But I can't imagine for like Issa to have written it and then, to have pitched it, to film it, and then to sit through every single day of post-production to watch it come together. Huge props to Issa to direct 6 episodes, to write 6 episodes, and then to do all the post-production. That is, as somebody who wants to write, who wants to direct, who
Yeah.
wants to produce, she is a massive inspiration to me, because to be able to keep track of all those things and to also, keep in mind the first season of True Detective and dropping those little Easter eggs that we see in episode 2 is so incredible. And she is a genius.
Absolutely. No, it's so great. So well done. And I to kind of add to that a little bit. I mean, this world of this small town where everyone kind of knows everyone and everyone crosses paths because, it's small town, right? Like you go down the street and it's like, oh, look, it's that person. You know what I mean? Is that fun from a acting perspective? Because it's like really an ensemble cast in that way, right? Where your character cross paths with a lot of things, a lot of people.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm from a small town,
Yeah.
and Ennis, which is the town depicted in the show, actually reminds me so much of my hometown of Echede Nunavut, where everybody knows everybody's tea,
Mhm.
and it's very, very hard to keep secrets. And it was really nice that like throughout filming to be able to interact with different characters, and as much as I love Peter Pryor, as much as I love Finn Bennett and all the scenes that we had together, it was also really fun to shoot some scenes with Isabella LeBlanc, who plays Leah,
Yeah.
and to have, Nutak Simmons, who plays my grandmother, and of course with Jodie as well. Um, it really was just fun to kind of have those days on set and to play with other people and to learn from other people, what their process might look like, or just to hear how they're doing. It was a really great time.
Well, it's a great segue. I mean, there's a really cool scene in episode 2 with Jody, where there's kind of both of you are kind of confronting each other. I mean, everyone does an amazing job in this, including yourself. Like the acting of this is just incredible and so good, and it's so authentic. Like I feel like everyone is just like these are not actors. These are real people. Like I feel like that sometimes. Do you talk to the cast about that at all? Did it feel like, wow, we're really bringing these like real people to life? Like, did it feel like that when you were filming?
Well, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think especially for like the Indigenous cast, there were some of
Yes.
us who knew each other already. And for, for the the team behind True Detective to really go out of their way to cast authentically, not just Indigenous talent, but Arctic talent, added a level of life experience and personal experience to the story that I think the season does benefit from. Everybody is fantastic in the series and does such incredible work, and I'm so excited for people to see the rest of the season. But that each of us as Northern talent, as Indigenous talent, coming and bringing our own experiences. Like me going toe to toe with Jodie Foster, going toe to toe with a white woman, been there, done that. And so it was just kind of taking these different situations in life and applying them to the scene. And I feel like that definitely benefited. And it's really an amazing feeling to see just from for me to see Indigenous youth, to see
Yes.
Indigenous women, and folks saying like, "Oh my God, this reminds me of like my cousin. This reminds me of my auntie." Leah is the young queer representation that young Indigenous women need. It is so rooted and grounded in a reality
Yeah.
that is so important to the story, and it definitely adds an extra layer.
Oh, it's huge. Absolutely, it's so important, and I'm so happy you touched on that. Um, to add to kind of what we talked about in the beginning of the interview, where I feel like there's so many elements out there, I'm wondering if there was like one element with True Detective Night Country that you really kind of like involving the ones I'm going to bring up right now, because obviously there's the who done it component and like the murder component, the crime component. That's the big one that I think like we always just know that's going to be there right away, right? Like what's going on, what
Mm.
happened. But then there's obviously this like kind of like thriller supernatural thing going on that we don't really know what's going on. So I'm just wondering, which one do you like better? Do you like the crime perspective or do you like the supernatural perspective a little bit more? If you would choose between one.
If I had to choose between one, I am a big lover of everything supernatural, everything paranormal.
Yeah.
I very strongly feel connected to spirituality
Mhm.
and that there is something beyond like our human comprehension that exists and that plays a part in our everyday lives.
Totally.
So to have this supernatural element and to mix it with reality and for people to watch the show and have to create the line between what is real and what are people imagining, if that, and trying to figure out how does that tie into the larger story. I think it's so fun, and it makes for not only like a great story, but it makes for a really interesting conversation amongst the fan base and people who are just generally interested in the show. And to create that sort of conversation, I think just propels it forward so much. And it also just opens up really interesting conversations. I also feel like, I know for Inuit, we're quite a spiritual people,
Yeah.
and we love our we love our legends, we love our mythology, and to include aspects like Nuliayuk, who is the goddess of the sea,
Yep.
which is which we talk about in episode one, or I talk about in episode one, with my son's drawing, to have that aspect included as well. And that something that is so important to Inuit culture and that level of spirituality was really cool. And I hope some people kind of saw a door open and want to learn more about our beliefs and our
Oh,
ideologies.
people were, because like there's dual viewing now, right? Like people are watching and they have their phones with them. They're probably seeing a lot of what you're saying happening on screen. They're like Googling, like, what's this all about? 100% that's happening. And I feel like you're kind of sitting there like, yes, that's what I want to happen. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. This is the notes are hitting, everything's hitting, people are catching on. I love it. It's great to see.
Did the horror movie thriller component of this season kind of like, did it feel like that when you were reading the script? Because it's pretty scary compared to past seasons of True
Yeah,
Detective.
yeah. I mean, it's I love Issa is a horror director,
Yeah.
and for her to lean into that, to lean into horror and a genre that's so often like misunderstood or people think is just so superficial, to just say like, nah, I believe in my writing, I believe in my story, and this is my vision and I'm gonna go for it, I think is so cool. It's so smart. It's so brave, and I admire that so much. I loved like her references to like The Thing. That's one of my favorite horror movies. also, Arctic researchers or Antarctic researchers. So just flip it on the reverse.
I love horror movies.
Um,
Spooky season's always
oh,
like spooky season, like October. I swear I probably watch like 80 to 100 horror movies. Like sometimes I'll just like on a
oh
Saturday, it's
wow.
just like 7 or 8 like marathon. It's crazy. Well, no, because
Do you have a favorite? Oh,
yes, I do. So my
sorry.
favorite horror movie of all time is The Strangers with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. I don't know. Have you seen that
Mm,
one?
really? Yeah, I have
I
seen it.
what's scarier than that? If you think about it,
I
like if you
guess,
think,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah,
It is a really scary and really good scary
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
there was a movie from 2015 called The Invitation that I really enjoyed as well with
Mhm.
Laura Marshall Green about
Is
just
that the one in,
oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
is that the dinner party or what?
Yes. That's like one of my favorite
Yeah,
movies.
yeah, I
Dinner
remember.
Party Gone Wrong. That's like one of my favorite movies. Also, you're a big horror movie fan. This is awesome.
I love horror movies. I find them, I don't want to say comforting because that sounds like I'm a bit crazy, but
Mhm.
I do just really enjoy a movie that you can watch and then you can like leave it and you don't have to
But you're
think
on
too
a
much
roller.
about
Do you
it.
feel like you're on a roller coaster when you watch a movie? Because that's what I like about it the most. Like especially when I go to the movie theaters, like I feel like I'm strapped in, and it's just like an hour
Yeah,
and a
they're
half ride.
gripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're constantly like either if it's a thriller, you're like, where are they? If it's a
Mhm.
ghost, then you're like, who is anybody else feeling a little cold? Is anybody else feeling chilly? And yeah, if it's monsters, then it's like, all right, I'm going to keep my closet doors closed before I go to bed every night.
Absolutely.
I love a horror movie.
So we did on popturnitive.com our top 10 horror movies of 2023. And it was a very tough list to do, right? Because there's so many. And
Mhm.
so the whole list is available on the website. But my top 5 was the last Scream movie was number 5. Number 4 was Talk to Me. I love that movie.
So
Number
good.
3 was Influencer on Shudder. Have you seen that with Cassandra No and
I
Emily
haven't.
Tennant? Oh, it was
I haven't.
unbelievable film. Calgary director, filmed in
Mhm.
Thailand. Vancouver actors, just unbelievable job. Influencer. Number 2 is Megan. I love that movie. And
It
then
is fun. It is fun.
number 1 was Thanksgiving. That was like one of my favorite horror movies of the year. Did you
Really?
see that one?
I didn't watch it. That's with Addison Rae, right? Eli
Yes,
Roth
it's
film.
fantastic. Yes. One of my
I've
favorites.
seen the trailer.
Just so much fun beginning to end. Um, but that's
Mhm.
the thing though, getting back to True Detective on it, like I feel like when I watch the thing I love about like HBO specifically, and you relate it to horror movies, is you're strapped in. Like every time I put on an episode,
Mhm.
I love it because I just feel so immersed. And sometimes I feel like I'm there. You know what I mean? And you're really invested
Yeah.
in the characters. But it really does feel like you're on a roller coaster because this season really has like horror movie elements that really freaked
Mhm.
me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of tension. And I do love with HBO, I do love that they don't shy away from like heavy content. They
No.
don't shy away from, the horror or the risky stuff.
Mhm.
I think that they, believe in their creators' visions and that's so, so great to see. And they love a little bit of edge and a little bit of grittiness.
Yeah.
And as somebody who loves a horror or a thriller,
Mhm.
um, that is something that I'm seated, I have my popcorn, I got my Diet Coke,
Yeah.
I'm ready to sit and watch.
Mhm.
Um, so this season, like to watch it has been, you know, to have been a part of making it has been really great and I loved it. But to sit down and watch it and just be like, this is something that I'd want to watch, even if I wasn't a part of it,
Mhm.
is so, so great. And I hope we see some more horror, sci-fi, murder mystery thrillers
Yeah.
soon.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny because I'm a creative as well. Like I popped her to pictures. Like I
Mm.
wrote and produced a short film, and I'm writing and producing some short horror films right now too. So that's the dream. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like, that's
I
really
love that.
oh, it's a fun space for sure. Last question before we wrap up. Um, Episodes are kind of coming out week to week. There's two ways, like obviously how we're kind of consuming content these days. There's the binge; they all drop. You watch them, then you kind of talk a little bit about them, but then you have to wait until the next season. This is the HBO traditional, incredible dinner table conversation, week to week drops.
Mhm.
Is there anything better than that? If you think
Oh,
about it.
there really isn't. To have like a week to week drops for people to be able to talk and to theorize and to make, you know, guesses on what's going to happen next, and just to kind of be, I love being a little fly on the wall and like reading everybody's theories and being like, oh, this is so interesting. Okay, interesting. I do think though that, like, 6 episodes come out week to week, have your theories, get to the end, and then just watch it again and find anything that you might have missed. It's just one of those seasons, one of those shows that there's so much in it. And a second watch, I won't say is necessary, but is highly recommended.
Absolutely. Sundays on HBO and in Canada on Crave, of course, so they could check that out. True Detective, Night Country. Anna, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation. Love the horror aspect.
Oh,
So much
absolutely. Oh, we're 100% horror movies anytime. Instagram is the best way for people to keep up to date with everything, right? Is it just your name?
Yeah.
Okay, just on a lamb.
Or sorry, yeah. So my Instagram handle's a bit long. It's on_R_B_Lamb.
Awesome. Yeah, they'll find it for sure. Well, this has been Pop Narrative. YouTube.com/Pop for previous episodes. Until next time, this is On a Lamb and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.